Bill Ackman might not be the richest hedge fund manager out there, but he is probably one of the most vocal. He founded and still runs Pershing Square Capital Management, a hedge fund that manages over $13 billion. And in doing so, Ackman has made himself a multi-billionaire as well. He has not, however, done this without controversy. He is pretty much the definition of a manipulative hedge fund manager who likes to decide upon a company, short it to oblivion, then go on all the different media sites, CNBC, Bloomberg and Fox News, and tell everyone that the company is about to collapse. Most recently, he did this just last year. When the lockdowns and the pandemic were kicking off, Ackman went on TV and told the world that hell is coming. The economy is going to crash, the market is going to crash, and everyone should pull their money out and save themselves. What he failed to mention, however, is that he had spent the past few weeks building up a short position, getting ready to capitalize and profit off of the fear he spread in the markets. Needless to say, he's not very popular amongst those of us who lament market manipulation and short sellers, but he still has a huge platform and he still likes to abuse it. Just last week, Ackman went on CNBC to give us his 2 cents about the markets, the economy, and what he thinks is going to happen. Now, I'll show you what he had to say, but I need to remind you that this man is famous for manipulating the markets, for doing interviews just like this, for pushing his narrative, all to make money at our expense. But really quickly, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, like and comment. We're putting out loads of content just like this constantly that you don't want to miss out on.
I hope what it does is it motivates anyone who doesn't have a vaccine to get a vaccine. I don't think it's going to change behavior to a great extent. I think people are done, I am, with being in a cave, right? Hiding from the rest of the world. They want to go out, they're going to have fun, they're going to go to restaurants. You're going to see a massive, in my view, economic boom. On the margin, there'll be some people who are afraid, some people who are afraid of getting a vaccine, and they're therefore afraid of going out. But I think we're going to have an extremely strong economy come the fall. I think people are going to return to work in September. And I think companies are going to insist on vaccines, and I think it's a good thing. And, I have, even some people in my own company that I would say we're probably 3 people who haven't gotten a vaccine. And, in one case, sort of a philosophical objection or maybe a religious one. And, my question is, you take antibiotics, you take other drugs. If you can take an antibiotic for, some other kind of infection, why won't you, have a vaccine? And would you rather, and other people are concerned about the risk, and the risk is, in my view, a lot greater that you get COVID than if you look at the side effects from getting.
So what's going to be the Bill Ackman policy at the office?
Moderna vaccines.
What's going to be the policy? So for those 3 people who haven't been vaccinated.
Yeah, so I'm doing my best to convince everyone who hasn't gotten a vaccine by being convincing, and then by the time everyone comes back to work, we'll decide what we're going to do about our vaccine policy.
Also want to ask you just more broadly.
93%. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about inflation and both the inflation that we are seeing, maybe some of the supply chain issues that are creating some of this. The big question is this the new normal or is it transitory?
I'm in closer to the new normal with respect to many sources of inflation. So one, I think inflation's understated. There's very, very significant they talk about home equivalent rents or ownership equivalent rents, and those are really understated. If you look at what's going on in the housing market, we have a housing boom. Talk to a home builder, everything's on allocation. You have to, and have a friend who knows the CEO in order to buy a home. So that you're seeing housing prices go way up. I think the way the data is collected for the kind of CPI or other inflation numbers really understate what's going on in housing, and that's approaching a third of inflation. So there's housing inflation. There's real wage inflation. One of the big issues, and I think this is not a transitory thing at all, which is recruiting, trying to get people to come work in a hotel, work in a restaurant. I think it's harder now because of some of the stimulus. I think it'll be a little bit easier come September. But a lot of people have made sort of life choices and various things. I think you're going to have to pay people to come to work, and I think that's actually a big positive. It's probably a long-term positive for the economy. So you've had $5 trillion of stimulus. You have an increase in wages. You have a lot of savings. You have the stimulus of a lot of people being vaccinated around the same time. All of these things lead to massive, massive economic growth and demand, and we still have an extremely accommodative Federal Reserve. So I think rates are going up. I think rates are going up.
So despite the doom and gloom in the markets right now, Bill Ackman is actually bullish. He thinks we're set for another boom cycle, that the markets are going to keep rising, and he thinks it's mostly due to the situation we are in with the pandemic ending right now. First, he explained how he thinks that the supposed long-term effects of the virus were overstated and that most people will not be changed long-term by the last year. People are going to go back to shops and restaurants, they're going to go back into work and start earning more money. They're going to start spending money instead of saving or investing it again as well. The vaccine rollout is also going well. Most vulnerable people have already been vaccinated, and most people who want the vaccine have already got it. This should stop the virus from spreading as much, and it has already started to save lives. Ackman thinks that the Delta variant may encourage more people to get vaccinated, but other than that, he doesn't think it will cause that much of a change in our society. And to be honest, I pretty much agree with him here. People have been locked up in their homes for over a year now, and everyone I know is just sick and tired of it and ready to get back to normal. People want to eat out, go to bars and restaurants, shop again, see friends and family, and that's good for the economy. Countless companies are also pushing to get employees back in the office, and lots of other companies are making it clear that people who want to work from home will have to accept pay cuts. What doesn't make sense is Ackman's belief that inflation is here to stay, that it's not transitory, and yet the economy and the markets will boom anyway. Now, if that sounds weird, then good, it should sound weird. There's no shortage of bulls in today's market. Investors like Cathie Wood are going around exclaiming their beliefs that fears are unfounded and that inflation is basically a lie. But that's just the point. They're saying that inflation is false and that the market will boom because inflation is false. Ackman just told us the opposite. He said that the market is ready to boom, but that high inflation is also here to stay. Now, I agree with him that inflation is not transitory. There have been wage increases in all sorts of jobs, from banking to fast food. Consumer goods have increased in price, along with lots of commodities as well. And Ackman is also right that a lot of inflation that we have seen isn't being reported on by the media, and it hasn't been acknowledged by the Fed. House prices have soared, car prices have risen, asset prices like stocks and shares, but also crypto, classic cars and watches have all increased in value as well. All of this is likely due to the expansion of the money supply, and it isn't going to just disappear. The problem is that consistently high inflation is not good for the economy, like Ackman seemed to suggest. It's absolutely destructive and awful for the economy. It sends people into panic mode and makes them cautious for the future. It often leaves some people's salaries lacking, but most importantly, it will lead to the Fed raising interest rates. Now, put very simply, raising interest rates will grind our economy to a halt. Any person with debt will see their repayments increase. Asset prices will fall as people have to liquidate their positions to pay off their now more expensive debt, meaning people who are foolish enough to think that a new Rolex or an NFT was a good investment will be left out of pocket. People who want to buy a house won't be able to afford what they used to, meaning house prices will come down. Companies who carry a lot of debt, who are maybe planning to use it to fund growth and innovation, will quickly find that the interest they're paying is more than the growth they're seeing. Interest rates will rise as a direct consequence of high inflation, and rising interest rates will end this boom cycle. So why is Ackman telling us that the sky is green when we can clearly see it's blue? Well, it's pretty hard to tell, to be honest, but by looking at his history, we can make a pretty good educated guess. Around 10 years ago, Ackman secretly built up his largest ever short position against Herbalife, only to then make the rounds on all the biggest TV channels to tell everyone it's about to crash. Just 1 year ago, Ackman secretly built up a huge short position against the market as a whole, only to then make the rounds on TV again, telling everyone that hell is coming and that it's about to crash. I think it's pretty likely that Ackman wants to pump the market higher. He isn't ready to exit his position and wants to make a hefty profit, so he is trying to soothe fears of a bubble and promote the idea that a boom is right around the corner. He might be stating that inflation is here to stay because he doesn't want to damage his reputation by being wrong, or maybe he thinks that the Fed is going to tolerate high inflation for far longer than the rest of us do. Whatever the real reasons behind his statements are, one thing is clear. We should not trust Bill Ackman. We should not believe what he's saying unless he provides the evidence to prove it. And we certainly should not be basing our investment decisions off of his. If you're new to the channel and you enjoyed the video, then make sure to subscribe. If you want to help spread the word, then consider liking the video and leaving a comment, and YouTube will do its part by pushing this video out to more people just like you. There are a few links down below in the description where you can get a guaranteed $25 from crypto.com, up to $250 in free Bitcoin from BlockFi, and up to $2,300 in free stocks from Webull. There's also a link to the brokerage that I use most of the time called eToro that you can check out if you want. Thanks for watching. Until next time.